Hello and welcome once again to What's Going On. I'm Octurus and we're here on the Forerunner server to bring you the latest in what's going on in Watcher of Realm. As ever, this is a community-based podcast, and thank you to everyone who hyped the video last week and shared and got other people involved, because it really does help the channel. We had about 30 people subscribe last week after all the people came in to get involved in the comment section. There are some really good comment exchanges in the last video, so if you haven't watched it, do check it out and get involved in the discussion there, and we'll probably have a follow-up to pick up on some of the points at some point in the near future. So Sebastian's with me here as ever. There was a patch that dropped during the week, and it was a bit weird because they didn't actually give us any patch notes in advance. And I could talk about it. I mean, the one thing I am going to talk about is the storage here. I'm going to do a separate video on it so we can go through it all. But they've redone storage. As you can see, there's everything. You've got heroes. You can unequip all gear. You might be able to just see that there, and unequip all artifacts. And you can do that for any particular faction. There's new ways of looking at your gear, new ways of looking at your artifacts. All the storage materials are here. It's a lot easier to find stuff, and it's all nicely organized. Really big quality of life change. It's one of the best things they've brought out in a while. But the purpose of today's video, Sebastian is a long time sufferer on these channels where we have these GVG sessions, and we do get involved. We do try and go through the season maps, and we talk about what's coming up and what we've seen and what we expect to see in the coming seasons. And with the new Demon Soldiers we've had come out recently, how they're playing, what we think we're going to see for the remainder of the season. So, Sebastian, I saw you put out a video on season 10 already. Do you hope that the insights you picked are going to give us a bit more flavour to the discussion today?
We did a generalized version. So I was joined by Zephyrus from MAD, and so we kind of had a brief overview. I mean, it wasn't like it was just trying to tell you where in the map are going to be the strong points in terms of putting your tank in your healer to start with, and then build around that. We didn't go like, here is a composition that you should put together, because we don't know everybody's rosters. You kind of have to evaluate it based on what you have. So we kind of generalized it more towards pure circump, esotericist, the cultist. They made a little bit of a comeback, but unfortunately Kirby knocked them back on the bench. So those are going to go back. So yeah, so I think that for this season, it's going to be piercers, arbiters, esotericists, and maybe some of the chaotics. So, but yeah, I mean, trying to protect against Kirby is a little bit of a pain. So a lot of the compositions you're probably going to see are going to be emphasized in terms of having some type of crowd control.
I have got some videos of on Forerunners, the Dragon Slayers 1, which is my guild. We went up against the top guild in GVG, a group called Phoenix, and they were a really strong defense. And I've got some videos of the different defenses that we encountered and some of the ones we used. Heaps are interesting as ever, but there's more opportunity for doing sort of like picking off defenses over walls, and we'll have a look at those in a little bit. But let's start with the tower. So the tower map is here behind me. As you can see, there's a couple of places you can set up. You can set up here at the front. You can try and set something up on this middle corridor, or you can, if you're really crazy, you can try and set something up at the back. So I think the kind of first thing you can talk about is how you might set up for a defense at the front here. I should probably have I'm just going to jump back and grab a defender so we can have a proper look at this.
I don't know how many people that are watching have Lady Alexandra, but if you do have her, that first engagement point and then if you put CC behind the tank and just have Iobar and Lady Alexandra on top, I think that is going to be one of the nastiest defense to get around. You're going to need heavy BP. That's what some people, at least already in my guild, are emphasizing those builds. And it's just there isn't enough time to really build a chain, would be the way that I put it, for Lady Alexandra. So there's going to have to be other demon soldiers coming into play here. So we'll see how eventually that meta gets solved. But right now, I think that's going to be a strong play at the beginning.
So this is the sort of thing that Sebastian is talking about here. So you have your Ivar and your Lady Alexandra on these two tiles.
Put Procure on the bottom. That's going to be the strong right there.
And
everything up.
Yeah, absolutely, something like that. And then you could even be cute and have someone like Nizar or someone that's like a Yimmerit, so who might be able to shoot around the corner and add some more control. You can put I up on the central platforms here to add some more slowing down in that. I've got a little video of that. In fact, I'll just put it up on screen right now because that's the purpose of having these things. So here we go. It's going to be really tiny for Sebastian because he's viewing it on Discord, but this is it. So this is the team. This is Ivar, Lady Alex, with exactly as he described. So you've got Brock here down the bottom. You've got Mari here, and on the back there they've even got Diao Chan providing more damage boost to Lady Alex and Ivar here. And this is a Kirby attack against this. So it comes in, and there's just so much incoming damage that even though they get the Grotesque Fiend is able to down Brock here, they're just not able to sustain against this the incoming power. So yeah, it's absolutely brutal. They did manage to take out I.
Yeah, the flyers there wouldn't have helped them too much. I think that it's part of the strategy is going to be not only Kirby here, but you're going to have something right behind Kirby that he can chew up and maybe also protect him from Lady A's passive. Yeah. And so there are strategies to try to get around. You're just going to need P to get around that. So
definitely, it's. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to see more of, is the fact that a lot of the setups are just going to come pure BP checks, which is go back to some of like the early rounds of GVG, where it's not necessarily about pure strategy. It's about just, do you have the strength to get through these things? I mean, it's bombing strats still do work in Season 10 if you're up against the right lineups. So low BP demon attacks can take out high BP defenses. So, yeah, it's just about finding what works. But at the moment, that Lady Alexander, Ivar, and a Defender are just absolutely brutal to anything that's in their way. And that's going to be a team that people are going to see an awful lot of. Obviously, I've seen variations where just jump back to controlling. So you come back here. For example, you've got the Defenders here, you've got Lady Alex maybe there, and you've got Valeria on the platform next to them. So you've got pushback here, you've got all sorts of added chaos. You might have the healer one tile up, and then you've got Ivar here. So again, you've got this kill zone here, control as they're coming around the corner. And yeah, you could. So for example, Valeria would be there, pushing people down. You've got damage coming in from here. You've got range as they come around the corner. Yeah, that would be a pretty nasty setup right there.
If there was one message, if people did see the collaboration that I did with Zephyrus, if there was one message that we tried to send you, is that as we figure out throughout the gauntlet as to how to strategize against the Grotesque Fiend, it was adding as much RNG to the defense as possible. That is the only way that you're going to get around sneaking a win or two in trying to make sure. Now, I did see in the patch notes for the Forerunners that they said that they fixed something regarding the basic attack of Valera. So I don't know
Yeah.
if that, will change her RNG in Guild Wars, because with Valera, we couldn't copy attack codes. We could kind of get the model of what we were looking for, but if she did that push, the basic at an unopportune time, that was an added RNG factor. Sometimes it got you a win. Carnelian, she can add wins, especially with the ores, because sometimes the Fiend is not going to be able to take everything that you put in front of him if you have enough damage to bring him down. So it's just little factors like that you are going to have to use to your arsenal depending on your roster. So that's something that I always came back to, is you have to build depending on your roster. I don't know what your roster is, so you have to look at the heroes that you have, who's doing well, who's performing well, and then try to build around it. Yeah. So if you were lucky enough to get either one of the new 2 heroes, you want to build like a 2 tank system with a lot of CC, that would be the way to go. You just got to make sure that you do not let things get in front of the defender, overwhelm him, and then easily chop him down.
Yeah. So it's going to be a very interesting setup. So one team I've seen, if I can find it again. Let me just run through some of the ones I've seen in terms of towers here. So there we go. This was the sort of Valeria Lady Alex one I was just talking about. This is a little bit harder to see, but this was a Brockir, Sun Wukong, Praetus, and a Lady Alex. Again, Lady Alex. This is sorry if you're a lower in guild or you don't have Lady Alex. This is just the sorts of teams I'm playing against in top end GVG. This was Niza and Valara. So coming around the corner with Esotericists and Mari there to provide some CC on the corner there. This is Grotesque Fiend attack. I think this one was unsuccessful. Just Mari is actually working really well on these corners, especially because she's able to kick out so much vulnerability that if you can protect, like stop her getting killed off, she's just generally a menace. There you go. Valari's pushback is just so powerful. Yeah, that's GG on that one. So this is an interesting one. This is a Draylin Tower, but it's all set up around the back. So this is a Ingrid, Draylin, Torador, Nizar, and so you've got Ingrid at the back here, and she can shoot across. Let me just pause this because it's a little bit jumpy around. So you've got this long range here for Ingrid. She can shoot a couple of people and switch into single target if she needs to. You've got Draylin, who provides AoE damage protection, shields, and I can't remember. Is it some sort of retaliation damage she does as well? He provides.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Nisa can hit air, right?
Nisa can hit air. In fact, I'm using him quite effectively in my AA arena team at the moment. So definitely is working there. So you've got Ingrid and Nijar for the anti-air component, and very effective at that job. You've got AoE damage protection from Draylin. You've got Torador with a revive life. You've got what's her name? Fairy Lily to provide revive on one of these guys. So it's a really solid setup, this, because there's not a lot you can do other than kind of hope to switch Ingrid, but you're not going to get past before your fighters are shooting the next next defender, and she switches back to multi-target mode and starts blasting them with a laser beam. So yeah, ultimately unsuccessful, but it was an interesting concept, this one. That was, Draelin's shields going. They tried a fiend here, but yeah, everything just gets annihilated.
No, you gotta be patient and let the Finn do his thing before you send anything else. See, so now here, okay, so yeah, so I was expecting that it is possible that the Fiend could have done the job. The two would have been able to get through by himself, but the follow-up there would be to use a captain unit right behind it. Let the Fiend take Torador down, and then follow it up with the captain unit. That would have been the play then.
So the Slaughterer captain would have been a really good choice if you've been able to pull him, because if you've got his revive mechanic, and obviously gets stronger when he does revive. So that would have been a good choice.
There was something similar in Gauntlet that I went up against, and I used that strat. It's just, I knew that Kirby wasn't going to be able to get through the second tank, so I just sent in Ma. I don't have the slaughter on my global encounter, but Ma did the job. He got through. He finished it off. Ingrid, once you get her to switch to the single target mode, you can just follow it up with any type of swarm. So it's not. So you guys kind of have an idea there, or at least whoever did that attack now has an idea how he can follow it up, knowing that the Fiend can take care of that first tank there. So there was enough damage going on there. I just think that in order for you to protect yourself against the Fiend, you need a little bit more CC in there. And Torador didn't look to be fast enough to give those stuns when he needed it. So that would have been one of the changes, at least, is to add speed to Torador to see if you can proc those stuns a little bit more frequently, so that Kirby doesn't get the double chomp action, right? So
especially at level 5, where he gets the opportunity, that 35% chance for a double attack. So if you can keep the stuns going out, then that's going to have do a lot to help.
But it's a strong formation if you decide to use that where Torador was placed as is your engagement point, because there are platforms and there are a lot of ground tiles there that you can use to your advantage. So very, very interesting spot there. I think a lot of tough defenses are going to be formed there.
Yeah, and one of the advantages for setting up at the back is that you've got a long time between waves, but at the same time you've got a long time between waves, so swarms can become more problematic unless you've got the things set up there to stop them from building up. So we're going to have to do a little bit of improv here, but so that was kind of like set up at the front. I'm going to show you a couple of other things you can do now. Nightmare comps are obviously have been quite popular through the years, and as I showed you in like one of the 2 screenshots I had up on screen. So here we go. There's Nightmare comp there. In fact, I've got a video of a Nightmare comp at a Yimmerit. So here we go. I'll get this up on screen and I'll pause it, and I can talk about the 2 kind of variations of the Nightmare comp. Okay, so here we go. We've got, let me just wait for Hatchet to one. No, that's a mess. Let's stick with it here. Okay, so here we go. We've got Torador on screen at the front here. You've got Wukong behind, and then you have a DPS unit. In this case, it's Yimmerit. It could be Arrogance if you don't have Yimmerit. Yimmerit's a little bit more successful because he adds more magic damage into the composition, so he's therefore makes it harder to attack because you've got to defend. You've got to deal with both incoming physical and incoming magic damage. And then you've got a choice. You can put Hatchet on this tile next to Wukong, or you can put Hatchet on the platform behind. Now, if you put Hatset on the middle tile here, there's two things that can happen. One, people can wait out the stealth and then send in mages. Now, and if you do that, there's a chance that one of your two DBS units in the middle will die, because Lily or Carnelian might not be able to save both of them. Or you get swarmed, which is another way of dealing with it, which is you send in fools and defenders, and then you just push through with just sheer numbers and you get overrun. And there's just not enough incoming damage. But the more successful defense is this one here, with Hatzer at the back. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think it's because it means that she's holding on to her ultimate until things are starting to push through, at which point she's able to put out enough burst damage to control it. So yeah, I think that if you're going for a nightmare setup, this is the sort of positioning to go for over what seems to be the obvious one, which is have Hatzer up front and have her firing her ultimate up as people are coming around the corner. That one seems to be less successful. So yeah.
So this was a very strong nightmare defense before the introduction of the grotesque fiend. So the thing here is going to be on the build of your Torador. So we spoke about this before, right? So make sure he has enough speed to provide the extra stunts, and Suwon Kang has to be able to take that down. There's no, and you have to build him with a lot of rage just to make sure that he can come back to it. You need that ultimate to pop, and then you can kind of protect yourself against the grotesque fiend. This will be strengthened further if you have Carnelian in the composition.
Definitely.
So yeah, so it's a very Plat 3. You're in the border of Plat 3 Overlord. Yeah, I think that this comp can pick you up a couple of wings.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the Yimmerit in. If you've got the Yimmerit, then you're in a much stronger position overall. But just generally, it's tough. I mean, I'll just let this video play out, and this is a pretty standard warm attempt on this. There's no Kirby involved in this one.
We should I should emphasize too, if people don't know, this requires Imret A1. Because if you don't get those freezes, you're just going to get an opportunity of things piling up on you. There's no CC. So,
yeah, I mean, they're definitely throwing out those Winter's Bite on this composition, and they're just getting completely annihilated. Yeah, don't even get past
I would
Torrid.
say, watching this run, I think that part of the issue was a BP check. Those Templars did not stay up as long as they needed to for everything else to happen, right? So everything else was able to be concentrated on the Necros or the healers, whatever was right behind it. If you want to use that type of strat, you have to make sure your Templars can stomach a couple of hits from someone coming.
Yeah. Did I show this one? I don't think I did show this one. This was another Mari team that we encountered. It's a front loaded one again. So you've got Brock here facing back. I never get the facing backwards thing. I think it's just about where people proc. But there's Praetus. You've got Ingrid facing down, so she's only ever going to be in a long range one. Mari takes it to the face on this, but
yeah, definitely. This is going to be a favorite setup for the Ingrid owners.
Yeah,
no question. Yeah.
But again, it's not going to be an easy one to swarm, because obviously Mari would cause the chaos. They took a shield away from it, but overall it was a strong defense. I think I had one last video, which was a similar sort of concept, where you've got a channel of damage to take on. So this was a Praetus team with a Valeria and an Ardia behind, and using Eumonia as a healer here. And it's a bit bigger. But yeah, this is again a big kill zone of power here, and you've got Valera pushing down. You've got Ardia just providing absolute chaos. It kind of builds up, but yeah, there's enough damage coming in from Valera's A1, I think it is, to just rip through everything, and they're just not able to push past. I think it highlights an issue with the Frost Guardians versus the Grotesque Fiends, in that they, even at A5, the Frost Guardian, he's not triggering enough to lock down the opponent's teams. And I think it's like 25% chance of triggering at level 5. So, and I think it should be closer to 35-40%. So it's on par with what the Grotesque's trigger is, and it gives you a chance to actually get somewhere with getting that Winter's Bite composition to work without the Lord. So I don't know if that's something they could do to boost the Frost Guardian, to make that ice composition feel a bit better.
So if we're talking about develop, I really hope that, I mean, okay, so they have defended themselves, at least for Season 10, saying, we have designed this map so the Grotesque Fiend is not as overpowered. Okay, we'll get to find that out. But if we start seeing that 70% of the attacks that we're sending are Grotesque Fiend, directed, or, be the primary unit that you need, at what point do the developers say, okay, maybe we do have a problem here, and we have to start, either we target the Fiend, or we make the faction specific units that we introduced at the same time relevant?
Yeah,
because that is one of the unfortunate parts that came about this, is that all the luster behind the new Demon Soldiers coming into the game got lost because they didn't properly balance out one unit that is not even affiliated with one of those factions into the game.
Yeah. The fact that spiders feed it quite so well. I mean, I think I saw someone suggest that one easy fix would have been to stop the spiders feeding the Grotesque Fiend. You could only use the Abyssals to feed it, or it had to be an infernal faction unit to feed the Grotesque Fiend, to keep it thematic. Yeah. And that would be a very easy fix. But or adjusting its healing, because the amount it heals is just insane. A million plus health. It just makes it impossible to deal with. But 90% of the attacks in
stats. Because if you reduce the stacks, you decrease his attack, you decrease his HP, and that healing mechanism. So I mean, we'll see how everything plays out here as people start unlocking more chests. Maybe there is something that I'm missing with the Frost Guardians that we're not seeing with the Grotesque or the Chaotic. I mean, some of my guildmates that do have the Lord Captain for the Chaotic faction, they're having large success in the field. It makes their job easier in terms of figuring some stuff out.
Just kind of playing around with other compositions you could do, and this. I mean, we could easily spend an hour talking about things they could do with the things. But yeah, the fact that the Lords are so important to how these teams develop now, especially for the Frost Guardians, because he provides that bonus healing to the Frost units. But yeah, at the moment the Frost Guardian is too squishy at level 5 and is too inconsistent at applying the Winter's Bite to be a relevant unit to use on his own. So maybe when I get the Lord, I'll change my mind on him. But at the moment, I'm a little bit frustrated that I've invested all these Void Cores and I'm not getting anything back.
So a lot of the strong points for this map is, especially for those of you who have limited rosters, there are a couple of spots here where you could use Ardea to your advantage if you need her, because there are ground tiles that are kind of diagonal to where you can put your tank. The new heroes that were just released, those come into play. Emirate, Valera, those are spots that you can use for that particular to try to set up your defense there. So as I always tell you, and especially with the tidbits that I have in my Discord, is let's first pick your tank and then your healer. Put those two. Where are you going to put, where is the healer going to be at its most useful without taking a good spot away from the DPS? And then build around that. Where are you going to put the CC? Which hero are you going to make vulnerable if somehow the Garner Guards are able to get to you? If somehow Glacius is able to get to you? Who do you think, if you lose that unit, is going to not hurt your defense type of deal? So just little things like that is what you got to think about. It's just like that Hatsuit positioning that Arturos was saying. It seems to work better in here because she doesn't get as baited as easily. Maybe you get a little bit more protection from the lightning guards in that regard too. So here, this spot works better than doing it here. And just think about little things like that when you're hero crafting your defense.
Yeah. So obviously, if you were going for this setup that I've got on screen at the moment, you'd use someone more traditional, like a Ymmerit or an Ardea, and ideally you'd want a long range mage. There are very few which are 3x3, but there are a couple in this sort of position. But yeah, there's something you could do around this sort of setup, or you could go double. If you had Lady A, you could go Ivar, Lady A, and then you have enough to lock down this corridor to prevent it going crazy. And you could even go double tank, because we know how effective Erlang is being, and he'd also provide further anti-air damage protection as well. So and damage down as well, and all sorts of other chaos. So he's an interesting unit that I think is going to get a bit more play, especially as maybe a secondary defender to try and prevent swarms. But
then
we'll
remember, even though Arturo said double tank, just remember there are two type of tanks for GVG. One is what we classify as the stone, right? Somebody that you know is going to be able to take a couple of hits. It has some type of invincibility or recovery, fatal damage, something that allows him to stay on the field a little bit longer. And then we have the support tanks. So those are the ones you're not going to put in the front. You're going to put them in the back. So Constance used to be the ones from that people used a couple of seasons ago. Captain Reeve, and then now the new ones, the Erlang that was just introduced into the game. So those are kind of the units that you're thinking when he says double tank. Now, Draylen is good in terms of what especially, but as a front unit, no, she's deficient there. So you can place her in the back. She'll provide you that support for the defender or to protect you against the swarm. But if you're going to use her to tackle Kirby, you're going to lose that battle. So you just got to make sure, read the kits of your defenders, the ones that you have in your account, and make sure that there is some type of fatal damage protection that allows him to stay in the field a little bit longer.
Draylen's good at dealing with bombs because she's got this baked-in AoE damage protection, or blue mages, so she's definitely good as a secondary tank tucked up behind your primary, and then she's providing that protection to the unit in front or the units around him, so that they're not getting affected by those big hits, so those AoE damage hits. So, but single target attacks such as from Kirby, the Fiend, then yeah, he's not going to be able to deal with supporting that in the same way. Okay, so that's kind of the middle corridor. You could set up something there. You might be able to put a unit on this tile here, but it's likely to be attacked by the Garnet Guards. I have now got my the season 10 season 10 demon, the golden guards to level 5 now, so that I've now got the AoE attack around this, but I have yet to have an opportunity to play with it in earnest to see whether it's just the adjacent tiles or whether it's the 9 tile, the sort of the 9 tile square that gets hit on impact. So that'll be an interesting one to see how that pans out. That's kind of the middle section. So what at the back? So we kind of showed one example at the back here. With, so you'll have to excuse Ivar standing in for Ingrid, but again, you could use a star piercer set up here. You've got the extra tile, so you get them coming around the corner, coming into that. You could try and do that, but you're probably opening yourself up to a bit more things being picked off as they're coming around the corner, especially from a Garnet Guard perspective coming in on that. But if you've got Carnelian here, then by the time that the Garnet Guards come round, you're likely to have a ball on that unit, so you'd have the protection, because it's a long waiting to 8 cost and then a long walk round. The chances are that any units nearby are going to have the protective ball on them. So yeah, that sort of setup, you're not too bunched up, but obviously it's, if you can get through one of these units, then you're going to be susceptible to swarms. But yeah, if you bait the units here.
Yeah, so this wouldn't be my favorite setup, but yeah, like Arturo said, this is only if you have Carnelian. Don't put that platform unit ahead of Procure if you don't have Carnelian. You need to push him one tile to the right if you're going to do that, unfortunately. So, and I would say that I would prefer to use the platform right on top of Procure, because now you're affording yourself the opportunity to possibly pick off or support that second unit, that second ground unit, if you do place whatever mage marksman you decide to put in that platform. So you kind of, it's playing support in 2 roles. So that's why when Cephas and I talked about those 2 platforms right ahead of Procure, we just said, no, they're kind of dead. And of course, Cephas did say, well, unless you have Carnelian. But in terms of just damage support, anything that might sneak by, I prefer to just put it right on top of Procure.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as, I mean, yeah, unless you've got you're crazy enough to try a Setram run. But no one uses Setram in GVG these days.
What's the number 1 rule with GVG? Don't use Infernals. I mean, that's the top rule. I mean, you just don't use Infernal.
I did go through a phase many seasons ago of using having a Setram really far back, and his job was only on sweep, and so that worked quite well because of the setup. But yeah, the maps now don't allow you to do something like that because it's just not possible. It's just not feasible, and everything is much more aggressive, especially in terms of both the demon soldiers and what you can do, what better choices there are than using Infernals.
I know that we're talking about Infernals here, and maybe we can approach this later, but that's one faction that I think the developers have really taken a crap on, because at least in the end game, they're just not usable anymore. And I know if you cover the patch notes, you're going to have the Lyra reworked, so they're trying to at least make her a little bit more competent. But when I read it first, I said, do you really use her on Infernal in that situation, or would you just rather use it as a Terrorist? I think that I would lean more towards Nastia if that was the case than Sulcanus.
Yeah, she does. She is dual faction as well, so you've always got the option if you are planning on using her to use her with you to Terrasis. So it's she's a unit who I did use for a while, but I've not used her in it for a period of time since I've reworked my Abyss teams, and she is quite interesting in what she can do in terms of bringing damage, and I think the adjustments are going to be good. But I think there's more to see to the Infernals in general can be done. But okay, so back to GVG. You could try a Nightmare team back here, but I think you would suffer in terms of getting the damage out because you've got this L-shaped defense corridor. Where we saw the video where you had the Defender and you had Draylin, and then you had another DPS, which I believe was Neja, then you've got a much better setup that way. Because otherwise you need something which can deal with it. Talon would be another good choice because she's got that L-shaped attack, so you can have Talon facing down. She can attack around the corner, supporting the damage out the front. She's a focus for the Garnet Guards, so things on the platform behind her don't get hit in the same way. So yeah, that's another good use there. Again, Talon could probably be used here, but it seems a bit of a waste up front, especially when there's so many options that we've shown you about having long range things shooting over the top.
Yeah, if your roster is really limited and you want to use Talon because she's still bugged, and you want to make sure that you protect whatever platform unit you have against Garden Guards, then yeah, she's an easy bait. She is the one to use for that regard, especially if you're like learning GVG. You're coming up.
She's not bait. She's not bugged. She's coded that way now, according to the developers.
You know that's bullshit. Don't give me this. Don't give me this. She is bugged, and I will always say that she is bugged. I don't care what they put in her kit.
Yeah, I mean that lazy patch, that lazy fix is classic. But anyway, that Talon is an option for countering Garnet Guards, and she will be forevermore until they rebuild her from the ground up as a platform-based tactical mastery unit, because her whole kit is built around moving around and coming in and coming out. But anyway, that's an argument for another day. Okay, so anything more on the towers? I don't think so. I think we've got a pretty good cover of the different teams, different ways of setting up on this. I think it's fair to say that if you're setting up at the front, this platform is dead because it'll just get sniped off as you come. It'll either get blown up by anything or it'll get easily attacked by the Garnet Guards or archers that are coming around the corner. Obviously,
the way that I labeled it in my diagram is that platform is vulnerable if you put the tank on the bottom, or the bottom. But any of the other squares is a dead platform. So don't. So you got to make sure that if you do put the tank at the bottom and then you use that platform, you have a lot of CC at the front to make sure that your DPS is able to pick off on the Garden Guard, so you have enough damage to go after somebody like a Glacius.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it doesn't pick it off. So yeah, that would be the way that I would approach that platform tile there. So yeah, but the positives of this map is that it should allow for a little bit more diversity. Those that have restrictive accounts or don't have as many units should be able to come up with something to put together for this type of map. So I really do like the fact that they finally opened things up a little bit more. And I don't think we're going to be seeing ourselves attacking the same defense over and over and over again.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. I think there's definitely going to be more variety. There's going to be more factions involved. It's not just going to be Nightmare, Esotericists. It's going to be a lot more Starpiercer teams coming into the mix. That adds more variability in terms of what we're seeing. Watchers, obviously, I've got Ingrid to deal with. You've got the Supreme Arbiters. Chaos Twix, I don't think are going to be amazing until they fix the Garn bug. And how he deals with incoming damage from bombs. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to play out. But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of choices available. Valera is going to be a pain in the neck, but if she's on a platform, she can be baited to reveal herself, and then the Garnet Guards can pick her off. It's the same way as in Season 9. But if she's on the ground tile and she's pushing stuff around from over a wall, then she's going to be a lot harder to deal with. So, but not impossible. So, then yeah, it just becomes a BP check.
Got it. Yeah, that's a good summary for this map. Yep.
So let's go to the tower. I do have, while this is loading, I do have one keep defense to. So I'll let Sebastian commentate on this while I. Load up the next map.
There is saying a grid. Okay. Yeah, so the neat thing about here for Ingrid is that she is able to go across the map and hurt units as you're spawning them out. So okay, so I will say one thing about this positioning here, especially with Valera, and it's something that I was thinking about when I was talking to Zephyrus about, is you want to make sure that she's fast, and you're also going to be depending on her RNG. But the one downside to that is that when she's pushing, she's just pushing them to the side, right? So they're still going to be able to drive. One of her advantages is that she's able to push back. So you want to put her in that position where they have to go back and then they have to come back at you. So when we were talking about fighters that come across, yeah, it's all roster dependent and you got to look at it. But I think Valera is one of those units you want to make sure that she is pushing forward. And in that instance, I would use somebody like Emirate, because Emirate's slowing things down, right? So he's going to slow things down for Pradius. So that's when I would then use that side, or somebody like Ardea, just so you'd start doing damage, something like that, right? So I think that defense there was weak in that point there. It's just that she couldn't push that Fiend back. And so the Fiend had a lot of time to chump down Brooker, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, and I think they've actually thought about that, and there's very few places that you can place her easily, because if you put, so for example, if you put her on this platform here, so she's able to push back, then she's subject. I mean, okay, she'll only push back when she's. You can't hit her when she's invisible. But if you get her to reveal and she starts pushing people back here, then anything coming around this corridor will be able to snipe her off over the top. So you'd be getting like infernal archers, take infernals plus archers, taking her out while she's visible. It'll be a bit of practice on timing, but yeah, once you've got that down, you know what to do, and she'd be gone. Likewise,
So what I was going to say is the one point where I see Valera here working more efficiently would be at that first engagement point that we have, where you can put a tank and then place her on the platform beside Procure.
Right,
so
yeah.
That would be the right there. Now,
yeah.
Here, she's a little bit more protected. The Garner Guards, you can somehow try to slow them down with something else to make sure they don't press up against the tank. But Valera usually does a good job against Garner Guards unless she's out of her, unless she's doing her ult. but you have to protect her in some way if you want to put her there. Now, I would not then put a fighter right beside her, because then that just affords the opportunity to get picked off, that platform unit to get picked off. So this would be kind of the positioning that I would see of a good Valera defense right here, with something being backed up. So
Yeah.
then you have that front facing Valera, it's just pushing you back. So that's where I would focus on right there.
Yeah. I think, again, it would have to be something like a Star Piercer-led team, just so you've got the extra range to support, either in terms of your healer who's providing support, or something. Because, I mean, you could put a healer behind here, but then half your team isn't in heal range, or yeah, there's not many good options unless you were using a Star Piercer and a Star Piercer healer. You could put an Ingrid here, you could put an Ardea here to provide some heals over the top, or any number of ranged units. So let me, for example, use Erlang just to demonstrate. So Erlang reaches over the top, so you could use Nastia, you could use Numera, you could use Arrogance. Someone like that who's got that nice bit of range, you can shoot over the top of the wall and keep things under control, while you've also got Valera providing chaos, pushing down there. Again, doesn't have to be Valera. Could be a starter, could be an archer, could be a mage who's providing some chaos on this corner as you're coming around. You could even have I here, who's providing ice blocks into this area to slow things down, providing more time for your ranged unit here to shoot over the top and keep this area all locked down and keep everything in tight.
Depending against the guild that you're going against, I mean, as long as you don't go 0-4, you're going to help the guild picking up a win or two, right?
Yeah,
so this
absolutely.
is what Stephros and I were talking about with the whole RNG fiasco. In terms of the top overload, and we're just looking for something that extends the life of the stronghold. That's it. We just want to pick a win or two, something that will make the other guild think about, do I want to go after your 10%, or do I want to go fresh and try to get the 30 from the other stronghold?
Yeah.
Because if you can take away that attack and protect another guildmate from having their stronghold broken, you're helping the guild. So yeah, so think about it. You just want to make sure that you somehow are able to pick a win or two. That's especially with how things are right now in Guild Wars.
Yeah, especially with the I mean, from an attacker's perspective, the RNG for getting a full win, because if you get the full win, you have the chance of getting a demon chest. New demon chest means more opportunity to get demon captains, to get these new demon soldiers. So if you're attacking, you don't want to be picking off one shield, two shields. You want to be getting the full 3 shields, so you've got more opportunity to build up your demon soldiers. So that's gonna play into that same psychology.
That too. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so yeah, that's a defense spot that I hadn't thought about previously, but I might be going away to update my own defenses after this. So yeah, there we go. That's a nice defense point at the front there. Obviously, you're not going to be using that slot behind because you're just going to get damaged. If you do have a Valera and you're leaving and she's doing her invisible stuff and just pushing people back, then potentially you could have her on her own, invisible up the corner and pushing people back. Pretty risky, because as soon as she reveals herself, people will be attacking her.
Yeah, you gotta be very, very careful who you place back there. You gotta build them tanky, and of course, if you have Carnelian, you can get away with it. You just gotta make sure you have enough CC up front to help her out.
So moving to sort of the central location. So you obviously you've got kind of 2 options here. You've got your classic forward loaded position. So you have the tank at the front. You might then try and put something behind. But as I was mentioning earlier, anything that's placed on this tile here is going to be subject to attack from mages, archers, anything with a bit of range on as it's coming around this corner. So again, that's going to influence your choice of healer that you go for. If you've got a Carnelian, might be a valid choice to go into this area. And but the trouble with this is just a little bit limited in what else you do. Once you've done this setup, there's not much else you can do.
No, and you saw it from that Ingrid attack that you just showed. It's very limited. So one of the things that I'm phrasing this, if you put your tank where he has his right now, everything that you see right behind that tank and anything in front of that tank is a dead zone. That's what I was calling in my video. The dead zone of the keep. This is it. If you put any units there, they're all vulnerable. You're making them easy to be picked off. So you have to, unfortunately, rely on everything that is on the left or that platform on the back. And you saw how easy it was to then set it up for a swarm. It just opens things up too much, especially if you don't have a lot of CC to try to combat that. So if you do decide to pick this point here, if you're a keep defender, you're putting your keep at risk. So I would avoid it if at all possible here, because there are other spots here where you can possibly use to try to strengthen things up. So be very careful in terms of the type of defense that you put there.
Yeah. So right. So obviously, next position back for a defender would be there. You've got exactly the same problems. Very difficult to build a team around it and provide healing to all of the locations. You can put a healer on this platform here, but it's going to be under attack from Garnet guards and anything else on these platforms. Might be able to do something with Carnelian, but you're still going to be a little bit limited in how that pans out and how fast the enemy can get to you and attack what you've got on the field here.
The only viable, only possible defense that could be viable, it would be a Piercer Lady A dependent.
Yeah.
That Cephras and I saw as an opportunity there, but when at the end it was almost like, well, you know what? Even if we do decide to use a Piercer comp, there are other spots where Lady A is going to be more beneficial than she would be in this spot here. So, I mean, if you just want to add variability to the keep defense, yeah, you could try it, but it's going to be hard unless you have somebody like Nessa that could be like in the tile there. That she has the wide extension that you could try to help out with CC, but yeah, it's gonna be really hard to try to make sure that you support that defender in that spot.
This was kind of what that team was set up.
Okay.
But it's you've got the range over the top, but yeah, you're limited in what platforms you can't use any of these platforms really, because they'll be under attack. Yeah. You can't use the tile behind there.
Based on what we learned in season 9, and especially if we put units like this, because if you just kind of visualize maps being turned, this is exactly what we were contending with in last season, right? So this here would be a classic, just send Kirby. Yeah, just send Kirby. He should be able to stomach this, especially if there's no CC. And you're done. You're cooked for.
Yeah, so that makes that tile hard to use. You can set up a defense further back here, and then maybe I've done this around the wrong way, but the point remains. So yeah, you can set your defender here, for example, and then try and do something around here with your frantically moving units around to try and demonstrate the point. But yeah, you'd have a healer there, an archer there, just to provide a kind of a kill zone, but it's not. It's going to be subject to what you can get past the defender as a swarm in the face of Ingrid in full fury. I mean, obviously, you probably bait to try and get it to switch to single target, then send in the swarm to try and get through, and it's going to be all down to what this unit is able to do, be it a Ymrit, be it Neja. Neja has been very, very effective in the maps where I've seen him, unless he's baited. And if you get him off bait, if you get him off his 30-second
correctly, you can get around it. Yes.
Yeah.
So for those of you that have limited, if let's say that you really think that Ingrid is one of your more potent heroes that you can set up a defense with, and you for some reason have to defend a keep, I would say if you have Bubba or Beelzebub, you put him on the tile right below the tank, and then that provides a little bit more. That provides a little bit of CC, slow things down, and then his ultimate procs, it's going to drag him towards him. And it actually gives Ingrid a little bit more time to try to shoot things down and not get past her. That would be kind of the type of defense that you're looking for if you need a little bit of help.
As long as Beelzebub doesn't get carried away and pull things past the defender, which he has been known to do.
He has done before, yes. But if your Ingrid is powerful enough, she should be able to chop those things down if she has not been switched to. That's the key. Because one of the things is, if she switches and loses those stacks of the overload, now she has to restart. Now you're giving them a chance to get past. So, yeah. So just all of those things come into play here. So it's all on how you structure your defense. So use your sand slots and see how things are interacting when you set up the defense.
So the next tile back is interesting because I was just kind of messing around and I spotted this tile hit behind the exit point, and you could try and do something here, but I think you'd be really hard pressed to get a team set up to support this. You're gonna
scatters you too much, I think. That's the unfortunate thing.
Because these two tiles are out of action. You could probably put a Draylin in there so you're protected against a swarm, but that doesn't give you anywhere else to put anything else, because you can't use that tile. You can't use anything else.
Nothing in front, nothing beside. And if you do a double tank there, you pretty much eliminate that platform where you have Iobar. You just eliminate that. You can't use that anymore.
Yeah. So
this would be Piercer type composition with Lady A that become efficient with everything going towards the right. Nothing coming down. It's just too much of, you're giving things too much of an opportunity here to stack up. That's the unfortunate part.
So that would be like Lady A and Ivar or behind here, and then.
We were actually thinking it. So it would be, so you don't place anything in that tile. You don't do a double tank thing. It would be Ivar Lady A going towards the right to make sure that nothing comes in front of the tank. But then again, you have better positions to put the defender to make that Piercer comp a little bit more competent. So So essentially, when Zephyrus and I were going over it, and we just pretty much said, no, this is just this here as an interaction point. No, we're not going to use it. It's too weak.
Yeah, I can see that because it's just everything's too bunched up. I mean, you get one lucky bomb in there, and suddenly that entire thing falls to pieces. Okay, and then you've got 3 ground tiles at the back, but you only have to get past half of it. So you couldn't do a nightmare comp here because, you only have to get past the defender to make it work. So you only need to get past the defender, and then they're out, because this unit will not. The second fighter won't keep up with sustained DPS.
Right.
I mean, you could try and put Hatset on this tile, but again, it's just a case of it's only a matter of time before it collapses.
Right. Anything with the nightmare compositions, especially, is you're building it to get past 3 ground units, and in this situation here is 2 and a little bit of it. It's just a turn to the right, and then that's it. They're done. It's all gone. So no, yeah. So and you then allow things to build up too much. There's a lot of room here where the demon soldiers are just going to freely get to you. You know, by now we're in season 10. Things are just too developed where things can be overwhelmed really easy if you don't control them at the beginning. So yeah, so everything up here, oof, you're asking for trouble. You really are. The only type of defense that we thought of that could make an impact on some accounts, it would be to put the tank 1 down from there. So you have that second ground tile at the bottom there. Yeah, right there. So you could use somebody like Ardea coming down. You then support in the back. Yeah, now you have something to play with. Yeah. But you just got to make sure you have the right units. We started talking about Beelzebub being a protector. Unfortunately, he drags things up. So that would be the only downside to that. But something like that it would help you out. And given how the AI of the bookkeepers is, they actually don't target that ground tile on the back if they see the tank on the bottom first. So you're going to be okay if you want to set something like that up.
Okay, so I think that's a pretty good overview of the tower and the keeps for season 10. I've already showed you a couple of videos of like what's going on with the season 10, and that's actual battles that have taken place in season 10. And I think it's going to be one of those ones where you just need to find what works for you, and if you do go 3-0 or 4-0, that you just take a step back, refocus. Do remember, guild leaders, that you have the opportunity to set your marshals so that your best 3 people can get the extra 3 attacks. So they will have an opportunity to attack 8 times rather than 5 times. And that can really help your guild, especially against some of the tougher defenses where you've got where you're struggling to get past. So yeah, I think really that's what I wanted to cover for today. Sebastian, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, so a couple of things here for those of you that are not subscribed to my channel. But so I'm gonna hijack the description section of the video, and I'm gonna put in there the most recent BP affiliation video that I had just updated, where you can get the data, just to give you an idea of which heroes in your account to target to BP affiliate your demon soldiers with, and how to go about picking the gear to give you the best BP. So that'd be one point there. The other one that we briefly covered in my collaboration was builds to protect yourself against Kirby. So the Unshaken Will set came back to life a little bit because of this little worm. And so there are some very specialized builds that you can use with that. And we actually now, in some situations, especially if you protect yourself against the swarm, for the worm, one of the artifacts that Arturos and I knocked about a year ago when we did our artifact review actually has come into play, and that is the Watchguard Unity. Is one of the legendary artifact pieces that gives the hero max HP, right? So it gives him more HP to deal with somebody like the War, because that's what you need. You need HP. And then of course, if you have somebody like Procure that can push restored HP, or just give him some type of ability to survive those hits, it makes him a little bit of a menace. And also, if you can add speed to your tanks, do it, because you want that RNG to kick, especially with Procure and Torador.
Yeah, definitely. Their ability to lock units down. Brocchio be an absolute menace in GVG. He can hold down up to like 6 units, even though he's not really supposed to be able to block that many. But if his frost kicks off and he freezes a load of people, and yeah, then he's just really good at locking people down and ruining someone's day.
Yep. Some heroes are benefiting a lot from Cataclysm, especially those if you can put their faction and exclusive pieces together. Do it. Araka is coming into play. A5 Araka is coming into play in Guild Wars, especially if you have Lady A, and you have that exclusive piece of gear. And she is nasty. There's a defense that we ran across in Gauntlet in the semifinal. Very, very nasty. And also the Hell's Lament. There are some you can make it used for specific heroes. It's just they have to be heroes that can cycle that ultimate really, really quick. Okay, so don't throw those pieces away. There are ways to use them. There are some builds for Lady A that you can get away with critical damage, but those we're talking about top end game gear. Okay, so so if you're more curious about that, come over in Discord. And I can share some secrets with you there, but I'm just talking more in general sense of what everybody could benefit from in terms of these little tidbits in hero building when I do put that stuff in my Discord. So,
cool. So again, thanks again to everyone who hyped the video. Please do share it with people. Do get people involved, and we will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.
Take care.